What the going on this team, Jerry?
Bury him! Bury him!
Jerry, TJ Watt.
He is the best defensive player on the planet.
Go! Yes! Yes! We're going to fire! Steelers fans! Bang! Run it down their throat!
No! That's not a penalty!
Game over! Game over! Don't ask me to do nothing! This is nothing!
He's aggressive.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Steel Here podcast, where I'm your host, Kevin Adams, alongside my partner in crime, Jersey Jerry. Jerry Don, it is officially the end of the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 season, and they go out with 5 straight losses. They go to the playoffs. They go to Baltimore. They get their dicks beat into the ground yet again, the way it has looked every playoff game for about the last decade at this point. Mike Tomlin has his press conference yesterday. Doesn't really sound like many big changes are going to be coming down the pipeline for us. Jerry, is it time to move on from Mike Tomlin?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say at this point, probably would have moved on from Mike Tomlin maybe a couple years ago.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, he's just like reels us back in time after time again, and it eventually ends up as the same old result. Get to the playoffs, get your fucking shit pushed in.
Yep.
And just look fucking terrible. But Kevin, there's a little part of me. I'm just happy it's kind of over. Just because this last month of football was just not fun. If you're a Steelers fan, it's been miserable. It's been brutal.
Yep.
Just zero fun in it whatsoever. The only type of fun I had, honestly, was probably the start of the Ravens game, because I convinced myself, like, by the time kickoff happened, like, dude, we could win this game. We could win this game. I was excited, juiced up for the stream, and then 21-0 later, I'm sitting there with my dick in my hand, and I'm like, here we go again. So they aren't gonna move on from Mike Tomlin.
No, they're not.
But they should.
They should. I mean, and at this point, man, if you're a listener of the show, you know that Jerry and I, for years, I've called for Mike Tomlin's head. I want to move on because it's just nothing's changing. Like, nothing real is changing. We're changing all sorts of things around Mike Tomlin. Him being the only one constant and it always looking like that is why I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I did the same shit you did. Going into that Ravens game, I'm like, I don't know, man. They beat the Ravens all the fucking time. They own Lamar Jackson. They're so due to win a playoff game. It's just like it has to be this fucking season. They come out, they win the coin toss, they take the ball, they get a first down, they can't do anything after that point, they punt it, they pin the Ravens after he muffs the punt, they pin them inside the 5. I'm like, holy shit, then maybe they are going to start, in much better shape than they ever have in the playoffs in the last 5 years, and then they get dog walked 95 yards right down the field. And what do we hear, Jerry? The defense can't get off the field because the offense can't move the ball. Okay, great. Also, I'm tired of hearing that bullshit excuse simply because opening drive for the defense, 95 yards, can't get off the field. Second drive for the defense, 90 yards, can't get off the fucking field. Last drive of the first half for the defense, 85 yards, cannot get off the field. Jerry, at one point in the game, the Ravens ran the ball on us 15 straight plays. 15 straight times. That's just us saying, look, we know we're going to out-physical you, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. And that comes down to heart and will and coaching and coaching and coaching. The way it has for every year since 2016 when they lose to the Patriots, 2017 when they don't have a chance against the Jaguars, and 2018, 19, all the way up to 2024. How much more do the Rooneys have to see, Jerry, before they finally say, look, this recipe is not working?
Kevin, we talk about the 8, playoff games recently, but go back to 2011. I think Tomlin has like 3 playoff wins since then, and it's against Matt Moore of the Dolphins, AJ McCarron of the Bengals.
I'm gonna read. I'll read it
Alex
to you.
Smith.
I'll read these to you. The first stat, and this is gonna be a lot of stats episode, Jerry, because it's the easiest way to explain that he's just not getting it done anymore. Okay? Yeah. It's hard to argue stats. Everyone that defends Mike Tomlin defends him with emotion. Oh, he's a great coach. He's a great leader of men. You know, even Rob Golden yesterday is on Twitter, ex-Steeler. Actually love the guy. I've had him at the tailgate. Super nice guy. But he says Mike Tomlin has the ability to do what so many other men can't do. He leads men who need to be led at that age, that become millionaires, that don't have any sort of guidance. And I quote it and I say, okay, that is great if he's, you know, this great cheerleader type of morality getting coach. However, on X's and O's, he's not the guy. He's getting lapped when he's going against coaches that are better at the X's and O's thing. You can't value his ability to rah-rah the roster up more than you value his ability on game day as X's and O's. Jerry, Chuck Noll coached 23 years. He never went more than 4 years without a playoff win. Bill Cowher coached 15 years. He never went longer than 3 years without a playoff win. Mike Tomlin just finished his 18th year and hasn't won a playoff game in 8 seasons and running.
Crazy.
I mean, 8 years, and you can blame, okay, he didn't have a quarterback, whatever. You can blame all the other bullshit you want to blame. Injuries for a couple of those years, all this shit. But after 8 seasons, how long does it take to get the ship in the right direction?
Yeah, Kevin. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where I feel like they're going to run this back, whether that's with Fields or Russ. But I don't see it. I think they're years away. I think they're multiple years away.
They are.
And I think they need, you know, maybe a season or two of just being trash. But that's not going to happen. That's the thing. We're stuck in this spot where Rooney's still selling tickets.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
People are still going to games. People are still buying jerseys.
Yep.
You know, so like as fans, yeah, we want all these things, but ultimately nothing is going to change. And why should it? Why should it? Tomlin didn't even seem like worried about his job at all.
No, not at all.
At the press conference.
Not at all.
You know, zero worry at all.
Smug.
He just
very
looked like,
smug.
Yeah, just comfortable, knows nothing's going to happen. Threw that line in there, some bullshit like, as long as, you know, I still got my job. Bullshit, bro. You like, come on. You know you're not going anywhere. You guys already had the talk. So stop with all that bullshit. You already said you're not getting traded. You know, save your energy. So why should we expect anything to change? It's just what they do. They're going to stay stuck.
He made a comment yesterday that, Jerry, I could have driven down to the facility and drove my car through the building. It pissed me off this much. A reporter asked him, and honestly, there was a reporter. I need to figure out who it was. It was a young female reporter. She was the only one that grilled the fucking guy yesterday in that press conference. The only one that grilled him. Ashley Leotis, I'm pretty sure is who it is the name. So she asks him, Coach, you know, the fan base is really starting to wonder, are you still the guy for the job? You know, how do you feel? How do you handle that type of criticism? And he very smugly responds, I've got big shoulders. Yeah, you have big shoulders, a big mouth, and little fucking results. And we're tired of it. And the Rooneys, like you said, they don't care, Jerry. They don't care. Because they sell out. You know, they're always going to continue to sell out. Steelers fans are loyal. I am guilty of this, especially because as much as I hate it, I'll still go. I'll still support it. I'm still going to be there. But you come back to who has he beaten? Why has Mike Tomlin built this giant shield around him where you can't attack him, and he's this great coach that everybody would fucking run over their mother to hire? Okay, here's who Mike Tomlin has beat. He's 8-11 in the playoffs. The 8 quarterbacks he's beaten: Kurt Warner in the Super Bowl, 37-year-old Kurt Warner. Won a Super Bowl, so I'm not even going to slight that one a whole lot. Joe Flacco twice, Mark Sanchez, Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, Matt Moore, and A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, no, half of that list is nobody's.
Most of that list is nobody's. And so the fact that you want to continue to hang your hat on these types of things, he's a defensive coach. Jerry, I would have expected a whole lot more out of the defense than giving up 299 rushing yards in the playoffs against a team that is in your division, a rival. You give up 299 yards while only rushing for 29 yards when that's supposed to be your identity. Jerry, what was the identity of the Steelers this year? Run the ball and play good defense.
Yep, that's it. That's what they wanted to do. That's why they brought in Arthur Smith. You know what I mean? So, 299 yards. I don't know what that talk was in the locker room after. Probably not much from Tomlin. But every single person on that defense should be ashamed after that performance. I don't know what it is. Like with these, and not even just the playoff game, Kevin. The starts. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. Something is wrong. Are these guys having sexual intercourse before the games, or I don't know what are they eating? What's going on? I don't understand it.
Jerry, you can't go that many games starting as slow as the Steelers do without being so incredibly inept offensively. I mean,
Yes.
you watched the Broncos then play the next day. While they only scored one touchdown their opening drive, they go 80 yards and throw a long touchdown.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it is impossible for the Steelers to start fast. Do you know why? Because it's their philosophy, Jerry. It is their philosophy. I find it so hard to believe that Arthur Smith signs off on these things if he's not getting pushed by Mike Tomlin to do it. Like there's just no way you can be that bad. You've said it for weeks now. Are they going to start fast? Are they ever going to start fast? Poof, you look up and they're down 17-0, 13-3, 13-0, 21-0 before the Steelers even decide to play football yet again. And this is why I'm calling for it. You have got to move on from Mike Tomlin. And for me, it's not even fire him. I would take firing him. I would take firing him in a heartbeat. But
I would take it too.
But I think the smart, logical thing, if you're the GM and you're the owner of the Steelers, you try to trade him. Because if he is as valuable, Jerry, as everybody says that he is, teams would line up for him, then you trade him. You get whatever assets you can. You use those assets to move up in the draft. You try and get yourself a quarterback, because I think we both believe at the end of the day, until you do have your quarterback of the future, no matter what, no matter who's coaching the team, it's still very hard to win in the playoffs. And I can't continue to run it back with retread guys. Like Russ, Jerry, I didn't think he played a bad game. I don't know that I want Russ being the quarterback of the Steelers next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, every Steelers fan, and you know, there's even parts of me that feel this way. My defense for Russ would be, yes, he's not as mobile as he used to be, but if there's one guy that people should lighten up on, is Russ, because he didn't have nobody to throw to.
Right, I
His
agree.
both tackles played really fucking bad. Most of these games, he didn't even have a running game. And did he show up in some games? Yeah, he did. Did he turn the ball over and make some big mistakes? Yeah, of course, he did that too. But I don't think they're bringing back Russ. I don't know if I would even want Russ back. My thing is this. You put Justin Fields back there, and you refuse to give these quarterbacks some type of help, it'll be the same result. It'll be the same exact result. They need to bring in another big-time wide receiver. I don't know what's going to go on with George, but let's say the Steelers are gonna try to go all in. Let's just say that's what they're gonna try to do, right? You might need to switch some things around on the offensive line. That is for sure. You need to bring in another receiver too. You got to get a cornerback. I don't know if Patrick Queen lived up to the hype this year. I would say no, but you know, they're kind of stuck, Kevin, because like we said, they're not going to tank. And if you're not going to tank, they believe that they have a roster to win a Super Bowl on defense, which I don't think they do.
They don't.
I don't think they do.
They don't.
They got big names, but they got guys that don't make big plays in big moments. They got the names on defense. Everybody knows the Steelers defense. Everybody knows their names, but they don't show up when it matters.
No, and they're going to fight, and they'll either fire Terrell Austin, or they won't re-sign him, and he'll be another Mike Tomlin scapegoat. We know Mike Tomlin is the defensive coordinator, just, has the head coach title. We know that. I'm tired of fucking arguing that. We all know that, and if you don't know that, look into it. I'm not even going to make the case on why that is a fact anymore, because it is so well known. If you don't know it and you're listening to this show, look it up or watch prior episodes, because Mike Tomlin is definitely the defensive coordinator. That's why it always looks like this. If you guys can't piece together why all the other parts around it move and yet the result looks identical, you got to come back. It's Mike Tomlin. So stop scapegoating defensive coordinators. But you're absolutely right. If they don't change the build of the team, and Jerry, let's get right into it, because I probably would move on from several big name players on this team and try and shift it towards an offensive mindset. You absolutely have to if you're going to want to contend in this AFC. You're not going to beat three teams in the AFC through the wild card, divisional, and AFC championship game and make it to the Super Bowl without having an elite offense. You have got to fucking change the defensive first approach. And that's why I want Tomlin gone, because I don't think that he believes that.
No, he definitely doesn't believe it. And, for the people who are a little confused here, listen, not only does Mike Tomlin have a say in the defense? He has a say in and a big say in every single draft pick
Yep.
and every single play called,
Yep.
whether that's offense or defense, and what the scheme is, how they want to win this game. You know what I mean? Each and every game of the year, like he essentially is the GM, the owner, and the head coach, and the
100%.
offensive defensive coordinator. He is everything in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
You know what I mean? My only thing with Mike Tomlin is this: the reason why I'm not gonna crush the guy like into oblivion. I'm gonna crush him, but not into oblivion. If you were Mike Tomlin and you were guaranteed all this money and you had a job for life, why would you leave?
Yeah, you're not
Why?
going to.
Why would you leave? I mean, his seat's never hot. It doesn't matter to him. He's guaranteed all this fucking money, $16 million a year, has a no trade clause, knows the Roonies aren't gonna fire him or trade him. So what? I mean, I'm not gonna blame him for that. He's just gonna stick around and keep doing what he does.
And so we can criticize all of those things that people are going to be like, there's no fact to that. There's no fact to that. All right, let's criticize
Oh,
him
please.
I'll criticize him on the facts then. I'll criticize him on the facts. If you want to stick to facts, I'll criticize him on facts and I'll eviscerate any argument that you have against that. There was a point in that game, Jerry, the Steelers, it's 4th and about 4 inches in the second quarter. 4th and 4 inches at our own 30.
Yep.
So I get it. Our back is close to our own end zone. But if you're in that game and you know you're going to be outgunned after Lamar just walks right down the field and does whatever he wants to do, and you know the only way you have any chance is to put up points, you have to roll the dice. Like, you have got to roll the fucking dice. They punt. Baltimore walks right down the field, makes it 21-0, or they walk 85 yards, make it 14-0. But in the fourth quarter, the Ravens have the same situation. They're at their own 39. Yeah. It's 4th and a yard. They go for it. They get it. They then march down the field and score a touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown. Derrick Henry runs away from. Then that play's haunting if you've ever seen the still photo of it. It's Derrick Henry and there's 6 Steelers defenders all chasing him. It's just everything about that game. Mike Tomlin didn't have them prepared. The game plan sucked, but it was the effort, a lot of the effort, Jerry. I mean, in that second half, you have guys they gave up a 2nd and 20 on the right sideline. Lamar rolls out right sideline, hits a little dump off.
Dante Jackson.
Yep, Dante Jackson is fucking doesn't even make an attempt to make a tackle.
No,
like
zero.
That's an effort thing, man. That at least, if you're gonna lose, go down fucking swinging. They just tuck their tail and they cower. I don't want to continue to watch this type of fucking football team with no heart.
Yeah, Kevin. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do, man. I don't know. I think they're very far away. That's why I'm not opposed to, not really going all in,
Tanking
and kind of and tanking a little bit. I like that better. I like that idea better. Because if you're realistically going to be in the same 18 to 22 type of draft situation year in and year out, at the end of the day, what are you really accomplishing?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, they're not even winning division titles anymore.
No,
Kev.
that's the problem.
It's
not like they're building to get closer, and that's where it comes back to for me. If I could see progress, if I could see their vision, if I could see the vision, I would have a lot less animosity towards Mike Tomlin. But I can't see it, and they're not getting closer. They're not focusing on what today's league is, which is you have to score fucking points in bunches. They're still trying to play archaic dinosaur type of football, and every year when we play against these elite teams, it looks like that. Ryan Clark said something the other night, Jerry. He's like, oh, if you move on from Mike Tomlin, he's like, it could be worse. And you have all these girls, he makes this analogy, all these women that are happily married and have a great husband and this, that, and the other.
I've seen that. Yep.
For the people that don't know, he's basically saying how many people are happy in their marriage, but they're just content. They're not really happy with it. And that's how the Steelers are with Mike Tomlin. But it could be much worse. And he makes a quote and he says, for a guy who always has his team ready in the regular season for the big games, it seems like they can't figure it out in the playoffs. That is more just complete bullshit narrative. Tell me the last time, and we've had this conversation, that the Steelers have been prepared for a big game in the regular season, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the season. Probably Patriots.
That's exactly. So these little parrots say the same shit, but nobody is being real about it. The Steelers aren't beating elite teams in the NFL, and they haven't for many years. None of the elite teams fear the Steelers, okay? They're not getting it done in January. They flounder to the finish line, Jerry. Look at the finishes since 2018 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2024, they go 0-4 and then lose in the wild card, get blown out. 2023, they go 2-5 to finish, wild card exit. 2022, 2-8, miss the wild card. 2021, 1-3 start, go 4-4-1 down the stretch, lose in the wild card. 2020, start 11-0, go 1-5 to end the season, lose in the wild card. 2019, 0-3 to start, 0-3 to end, miss the wild card. 2018, 2-6 to finish, miss the wild card. There's nobody that can defend that because that's different coaching staffs, 3 offensive coordinators, 2 different defensive coordinators, 5 different fucking quarterbacks. You cannot defend this type of shit anymore, man. If they're not going to blow it up, it's going to look like this next year, buddy.
Yeah, that's my thing, Kevin, is like next year going into the season, we're going to talk ourselves into whatever receiver they get, whatever corner they get.
No, I won't.
Whatever cornerback they get. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do my best to really, really take the back seat and just pump the brakes and just be like, yeah, man, I don't think this is it.
No.
I don't think this is it. Until he proves to us that something is really going to change, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
Jerry, I want to put this out to the fans. If Jerry or I next season are getting way too high on the Steelers, hammer the comments. Remind us, because it's easy for me to get sucked in. I do it all the time. I find myself finding reasons they can when deep down, and even whenever I was on the Tomlin train halfway through the season, the back of my mind, I'm like, you still know he's not going to get it done when it matters because he's not a very good X's and O's coach. He's a great motivator. He's not a very good X's and O's coach, Jerry. They got out-schemed. When the Ravens are running it the way that they are with Lamar keepers over and over and over to start that game.
They had no game plan. It's crazy.
And they didn't adjust to it. TJ just kept crashing the running back. And he says after the game, he's like, that was my responsibility to take the running back out of the play. So Lamar just says, oh, fuck it. TJ's just going to pound the running back. I'm going to just run it down their throats the whole way down the field. And the Ravens just had a better game plan. They had a better game plan than the Steelers had to start that game, Jerry. And it's every team that's good has a better game plan. The guy has only won a playoff game in 4 of his 18 years coaching. 4 out of 18 he's won a playoff game in. Like that's insanely terrible. And they'll just run it back. And the fan base is the most rabid I've ever seen about getting rid of him. I mean, this is the worst I've ever seen it. And yet this is Wednesday at 2:30 we're recording. Still no coaching staff changes. Like how long do you have to decide before you say we're not retaining Pat Meyer first and foremost? The guy is an awful offensive coordinator or offensive line coach. Jerry, when you have 2 offensive tackles running crosses on the block, Jerry.
Insane.
I don't know if you guys have seen this play. There's a play in the game where right tackle Broderick Jones pulls, left tackle Dan Moore pulls. They cross. The play goes absolutely fucking nowhere. The Steelers have more creativity crossing their blocking linemen than they do with their wide receivers crossing. And that is how you know fundamentally they are nowhere near an elite offensive team.
No, they're not. But I don't know what they're going to do, Kev. I don't know. I mean, if I was the coach and the GM, I think I really look into shipping Minka out. I'd probably deal George away and see what I can get at draft capital wise. I love George. I do. I mean, we love him. You know what I mean? We've been behind George for a long time on this podcast, last couple of years. It's just gotten to a point where, these reports are starting to come out and whatnot about George, and Tomlin hinted it at his presser a little bit. He's got some growing up to do. I mean, how much more growing up you got to do, dude? You've been in the league for 4 years now.
Right.
What else is left? So they moved on from Deontay Johnson. You've seen how that turned out for him. He's in hell. He can't even stick around on a team. I don't think it'll be the same for George, but I mean, they got to have big changes. You know what I mean? They need big changes. But I think one of the biggest mistakes they have made, the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, one of the biggest ones they made this year was going into this season without a competent wide receiver too.
Yeah. I mean,
I do.
Does it really even matter though? Because Mike
No,
Williams
it doesn't.
Mike Williams gets in the game again, makes a nice long catch. I think it was one catch for 37 yards or 34 yards, whatever it was that he had.
Yeah, that's
and then
it,
you don't
that's
hear
it.
from him. He played 9 snaps in
Yeah.
the game. Like it's a philosophy. That is why I continue to say it. They have the wrong identity on offense. They just refuse to go with a modern offense. And if that is Russ, because we've heard a few reports now. Let's go quickly to George. So the report was George Pickens was told that he was supposed to be there 2 hours before kickoff for the Chiefs Christmas Day game. He gets there about an hour and 20 minutes before kickoffs, doesn't really get to warm up. And if we remember, that's his first game back from the hamstring injury. So you would think warming up and loosening that hamstring would be of the utmost importance, especially for how cold it was Christmas Day. Nope, doesn't. George gets there an hour and 20 minutes before kickoff, and then he has a shitty game. Remember, he has all the drops, and everyone's coming for his head. He just doesn't play very good. You know, he doesn't run the right route or doesn't run the route where the ball gets picked off to Pat Fryermuth. Tomlin, you know, is asked in his presser yesterday, was George supposed to be there? Was he late? He dummies. He acts like he has no idea what they're talking about. Oh, that was so long ago, I don't really remember. I can't speak to it, you know, which is just bullshit. And you can say he's doing it to protect George Pickens' trade value, which is very much possible. But all he would have had to say was, it was addressed internally and we've moved on from it. No, instead he looks at us and lies, which is another reason I fucking cannot stand the guy anymore. But then you go to what we heard about Russ yesterday. Reports come out that Russ and Arthur Smith really didn't get along. They had a fine working relationship, but they really didn't see eye to eye. They didn't get along. And so what do you think that reason could be, Jerry? What do you think that reason could be?
Well, you know, it had to be because, you know, he wanted Justin Fields at quarterback, and Tomlin probably shut it down early in the year. And I'm sure, now I said it on the podcast early on, I guarantee you Tomlin promised Russ, we're going to give you the starting job, and we'll see what you can do after a year, but it's your job, you know?
Right.
So I think Tomlin definitely made some promises. Arthur Smith probably didn't agree with some of those, and this is what you got. This is the result you got. Now, I will say, I don't think Justin Fields changed anything this year.
I agree. I agree with you. I
think it's the same result.
I agree.
think it's the same result.
I agree. I don't think that there are any. I don't know that he wins any of those last 4 games. His legs are an absolute weapon. His legs are an absolute weapon. And for how bad the offensive line was, and the offensive line, Jerry, was so terrible. The Steelers' tackles gave up the most sacks allowed this season. Dan Moore gave up 12. Broderick Jones gave up 11. Okay, so the offensive line was horrendous. Justin Fields could have done more with his legs. I don't know that he does more with his arm than Russ does. Okay, but you can't take away the fact that those first 6 games, at least when they got into the red zone, they were a threat. The Steelers didn't score more than 17 points in any of their last 5 offensive games. Like that's
terrible.
That's so bad. It's right back to what it was under Matt Canada with Kenny Pickett, right back to Randy Feitner. Like it's that, and that's why I say, like, there's no way all 3 of these guys are the same exact offensive coordinator. So you have to be getting pressed in that direction by somebody higher. And the only guy higher is Mike Tomlin. And so, like, I can't, Jerry, I'm drained. I can't do it anymore. We can look at so many coaches that have been hired and fired and won playoff games in the time that Mike Tomlin has not last won a playoff game.
Yeah. Hold on a second, Kev.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you need this room? Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, I want to make this point because it's incredible. Since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win, Dan Quinn took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Dan Quinn was fired by the Falcons, spent 3 years as the Cowboys defensive coordinator, got hired by the Commanders, took the Commanders to the playoffs, and won a playoff game. That is all in the time that Mike Tomlin has last won. And would you consider Dan Quinn a better coach than Mike Tomlin, Jerry?
Right now, yeah, I do.
You have to. You have to.
I do.
Winning in the playoffs is the only thing that fucking matters. And so you have to say Dan Quinn is a better coach than Mike Tomlin. You have to keep it real. And do you think the national narrative would be that Dan Quinn is a better coach than Mike Tomlin?
No, I think they would say no. They would say no.
Guaranteed. How about Mike McCarthy? You think Mike McCarthy is a better coach than Mike Tomlin?
I think he is. More playoff success.
Since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win, McCarthy was fired by the Packers, took a year off, led the Cowboys to the playoffs 3 straight years, and won a playoff game, and was also fired by the Cowboys. Like, and these are all guys that nationally they would say Mike Tomlin is above. There are people that still say Mike Tomlin is a top 3 head coach.
I know they would still say that, which I don't know how you could say that after all these fucking years.
Jerry, the Rams and McVay. Look at the Rams and McVay.
Yeah, did you see that tweet I sent you?
I think I did. Yes, actually.
Or it was on Instagram, maybe actually.
Yes.
That was crazy, Kev.
It's insane. Like, and these types of things are adding up. I'll read it to the people so that you know. Sean McVay has the same amount of playoff wins as Mike Tomlin, and he has coached 10 less seasons than Mike Tomlin.
Crazy, right?
And so, like, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing as a franchise, Jerry? It's Mr. Rooney. It starts at Mr. Rooney. I'm gotten to a point now where I've looked into taking out billboards across the city, and I will fund them myself. And they're gonna say, sell the team, Rooney, or trade Tomlin. Like, because this shit is fucking out of hand anymore, man. And as a fan that pours tens of thousands of dollars and his soul into it, and I know there are thousands of other people that pour their soul into it, like you and I do. I don't know how much more of it I can take, because we both know this isn't going to change through 2025 either. And so how long really is it until the Steelers are actual contenders again? Because I don't think they're close. I really do not think that they're close.
I don't think so either. I really don't. I don't. I mean, they're not going to make a splash at quarterback. There's really not much out there. How fast can you fix those tackles on the offensive line? I don't know. What receiver are you going to get? Another year older for Minka, Cam, and TJ. How do they look next year? So, I mean, they're just getting older on defense.
Yep.
Offensively, it's like, what do you think they're going to do? I don't know what they're going to do. What do you think they'll do?
I mean, I think Justin Fields will be the quarterback next year. Tomlin basically all but said that he's in the pole position yesterday. So I think Justin Fields will be the quarterback. I think best case scenario for the Steelers, if we're not trading Tomlin and we're not trading him and we're not moving on from him, you don't draft a quarterback this year. And he even said in his presser yesterday when they asked, well, coach, if you're not going to get a look at high-end talent in the first round, you know, how do you find that franchise quarterback when you're always finishing in this situation? And he said, well, Jalen Hurts was in the second round, you know, Lamar Jackson was at the end of the first round. Your odds of drafting a franchise quarterback, though, are so much higher if you take them in the first 5 picks. Like, the data shows you that it is infinitely much higher if you take the quarterback in the first 5 picks. So if we're not going to trade up and we're not going to do that, I think you roll Fields this year. You take a wide receiver in first round, you take a cornerback in the second round. You're going to have to really fundamentally shift the way that you play football. You're going to have to be a lot more of a passing football team. Justin Fields possesses some of the traits you could get out of a Lamar Jackson. Great running quarterback, can make some throws, has a big arm. If he can just figure out how to read the defenses, which I'm hoping after this point he can at least get some help with, then maybe they can at least be competitive. But even still, I just don't see the Steelers having what it takes to win a Super Bowl as long as Mike Tomlin is the head coach, because all those things that we said, I don't know that he's willing to employ them. I don't know that Mike Tomlin is genuinely willing to approach a season after 18 years as a head coach that went defense first. I do not think that he is willing to say, let's change the entire identity of this franchise and shift it to offense. I just don't see he's willing to do it, and as long as he's not willing to do it, it's going to look like this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think he's going to be willing to do that. He's stuck in his ways. He's like one of those fucking older people. I mean, my grandmother was like this. She had diabetes. She was a diabetic. She had sweets every day. Stuck in her ways. She had a heart attack. I got her an ice cream sundae for her birthday. She had a heart attack in the middle of the night and died on her birthday, June 1st. You know, she was born June 1st, 1929, died June 1st when she was 91 years old. I don't know what year she died. I forget. But, yeah, she croaked. She was a diabetic, loved her sweets, stuck in her ways, and never changed. And Mike Tomlin, stuck in his ways, man. Just stuck in his ways. Just refuses to change. I don't see it changing. If it's up to me, I blow it up, but they're not gonna. So why are we wasting our breath on, you know, what they should do, what they shouldn't do? They're not gonna do much. They're gonna fire a couple coordinators, whether that's O-line, possibly, I mean, offensive line or defensive coach. Arthur Smith is staying. Tomlin's staying. Wide receiver coach probably staying. Running backs coach, who knows? Maybe Faulkner stays or doesn't stay. But other than that, that's kind of it.
I don't mean to laugh at your grandmother dying. It's just
it's all right. True story, though. True story.
When I see just nothing but red, and then you shift the train that far off the tracks, I have to laugh. I apologize. I mean, yeah, I agree. I really don't see anything changing. But one of the saddest parts about this is when I watch the game back, you hear Kirk Herbstreit, and he says, "Just where is the fight? Like, where is the? These are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where is the fight here, man?" And this is like I've heard this a lot on the broadcast the last month or so. Like the Steelers are just rolling over and dying now. And to me, that's a lot of just the message is stale. The message is stale in that franchise. And so Jerry, I hate to admit this. I hate to be this brutally honest with myself about it, but even if Fields is the quarterback next year and we go to the playoffs, are the Steelers going to be better than who they're going to have to play? Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, if they make the playoffs, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, even CJ Stroud played great. They won a game I didn't think that they were going to win. Like, even if Justin Fields is the quarterback and the Steelers go 10-7, I still think they're going to be dogs on the road in the playoffs. And then you're looking at 9 years, no playoffs. Okay. And then you're coming up the following season until you get that elite quarterback, and they're going to have to position themselves to do it. That is why I would trade away some of our assets. People don't want to hear it. I would trade Minka for $20+ million. Him just keeping a lid on the backside of that defense.
That's crazy.
I would rather pay guys $5 million to keep a lid on the back of the defense and pay Minka Fitzpatrick $20 million to keep a lid on the back of that defense, because I would change that $15 million to the offensive side of the ball. I think they need to position themselves for the 2026 draft. 2025 is not really a quarterback-laden draft. It's not going to be a great one there's not really anybody that is highly touted coming out that you're going to try and trade up to get. You can take a stab at a guy, but we took a stab at Kenny Pickett and look where it got us. That burns 2 seasons. So I would rather, if you're going to take your quarterback, I'd rather they position themselves in 2025. If you have to lose games then. And the way you lose games, Jerry, is you trade away pieces that are at least keeping you afloat. And that is why George Pickens would be on my goodbye list. He'd be on my goodbye list, Jerry. They asked him after the game, did you feel like there was any progress? What did they say? Any reason for optimism? Yes. Any reason for optimism, since you've gotten here to now. Oh yeah, we've definitely grown. There's been growth. George, any reason to be optimistic in the future? Nah. His answer is quite literally no. I think mentally that guy could be checked out. And then he goes on Instagram after the game and posts his touchdown highlight, and optimistic type shit is the caption. I said to Jerry, I'm like, I wonder if he just didn't know what optimistic meant in the moment. I mean, it's just that type of guy, though. If you're showing up late and you're not running the right routes and the effort isn't always there and he has trade value, I would move on from George Pickens. I would.
Do you think they do it?
I do. I think he's gone. Yeah, I do. I think he's gone.
You do?
Yeah. I do specifically because Tomlin wouldn't throw him under the bus when he was asked that question. He played stupid. Tomlin has protected George all season. I think once the Steelers got mostly through this season, they realized, look, this guy's not in our plans for the future. You definitely can't give him a contract. And if you're not giving him a contract going into his final year, then that,
he's not going to play. He's not going to play.
Right. It's just going to be chaos all season. If you're not going to pay him going into his 4th season and he knows he's going to be a free agent, it's going to be chaos all season. It'll be even worse than it was this year from an attitude standpoint, in my opinion. So I trade George Pickens. I trade Minka Fitzpatrick. There are other people I would consider trading that is not going to be very, very well received to hear, but there are other guys on that defense I would trade. That's all I'll say. Use your imagination, because if they're not, and it comes back to this for me, Jerry, if they're not close and they're not going to be close in the next 3 years, okay, and I don't think they're going to be close in the next 3 years. Honestly speaking, I don't think they're going to be close enough to win a championship in the next 3 years. You have to drain your assets and turn them into future assets. And there are only a few guys on that roster that pull that kind of pull. And I hate to say that, but I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. I don't even have the heart to say his name, but if that's what you have to do to really turn this thing around, then that's what you have to do, man. Like, you can't keep trying to fit a square block into the circle hole, because that's what the Steelers have tried to do. You have to fundamentally change a lot of things, not just Mike Tomlin's change where they let a few coaches that aren't under contract walk. I think you really, really have to change the way you approach the game. And the only way to do it is to flip it from defense to offense.
They're going to have to, if they want this thing to turn around quick this year, going into, next year, they better land some high-end free agents.
Yeah.
Some high-end free agents. Change your philosophy. Listen, I'm a fan of Justin Wilson as well. Maybe not as big as Russ, but I like what he has. I do. Hopefully a year behind Russ,
Justin Fields. You said Justin Wilson.
Oh, sorry, Justin Fields. Yeah, Justin Fields. I like him just as much as Russ. But if anything helped him this year, maybe being behind Russ helped a little bit. Reading a defense. That's my biggest concern with Justin Fields is I don't think he's really able to read a defense. So that's that. But if they could bring in some really high end free agent wide receivers, draft a stud. I think the cornerback position, Dante Jackson, I don't think he's it. Joey Porter also is so hit or miss that if he figures it out, great. We need that. But listen, I think Fields can win this league. I do. But they need to have pieces around him that are elite on the offensive side of the ball.
Right. I don't know how you can expect to see what he has as a franchise quarterback when you've given him such a bare cupboard to work with around him. Imagine if, I could see if they play him this year and they stockpile all the talent. I think that's their best bet because look around the league. Who are the Steelers going to add at quarterback? There's really nobody. Sam Darnold came back down to reality. I don't want to pay a Sam Darnold, especially not the type of money that they're saying he would command, which is Baker Mayfield, 3 for 100, 3 for 95.
I don't want that.
No shot in hell. I mean, if he couldn't get it done with that offense against the 30th ranked defense in the Rams, I don't want it. I don't want it on our offense, especially not with the type of offensive coordinator that we push forth out there with a run first approach. I don't want Sam Darnold. So then you look around, there's not many other great quarterback options. So Justin Fields is probably the best bet for the Steelers in 2025. So if you're going to do that to him and you want to get a real fair look at him, you have to load the boat. You have to load the boat on the offensive side of the ball with talent. Najee is going to walk. Jalen Warren is going to be here. Hopefully you extend Jalen Warren maybe 3 years, $30 million, something like that. You're going to have to pay another wide receiver. If you trade George, you draft someone like Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State.
What can they get for George, though, you think?
I think you'd get a second-round pick for him.
I think so, too. I think a second is fair.
I think a lot of what you would have to do when you traded George is just be like, look, he's just not happy here because we're not getting him the ball. You guys have a great quarterback, whoever it is you're trading him to. He would do well there, and you have George be like, look, we're going to trade you. Help us out here. When you talk to them, just tell them, look, you're just frustrated. And you see how when he does get the ball, how fucking dynamic he is, just how good he is. Other teams see that and they salivate for it. So I really do think that you could get a second-round pick for George. You use your first-round pick on a wide receiver like Emeka Egbuka. You sign a guy like T. Higgins, or any of the other. Devontae Adams says he would love to come play for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I'd take Adams. I'd take Devontae.
So would you take Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers?
I'd probably take Fields over Rodgers right now.
So would I. Honestly,
I would take Fields over Rodgers. Right now, it depends though. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like they might have learned their lesson with this quarterback carousel they've been doing. But if they go like all in, they might bring Rodgers in.
That's Aaron Rodgers. Vegas has Aaron Rodgers as the Steelers' highest likelihood of being quarterback starting week 1 next year. So a lot of people think that it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, which I just don't know, dude. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any fucking legs either, Jerry.
I'd rather give Fields 15, 20 mil. I really
Same.
would.
I would rather roll with the younger guy. I'm tired of these old retread quarterbacks. I don't want to see it.
Rodgers has 1 year left. 1 year left. I mean, that's pretty much all he's got left.
Right. And are the Steelers just a quarterback away?
No, they're more than that.
They're not. They're more than that. They're more than that. I think this year, more than anything, has shown that because if you are just a quarterback away and you had an elite offensive scheme, I would say, okay, fucking A, let's bring it in. But to try and just change your entire mentality, and that's who's even saying that Arthur Smith wants to be that type of approach, high flying. Arthur Smith might want to continue to be a running team first because that's who he was when he had Derrick Henry at the Titans when he had his most success. And so there's a lot of things that are like, do they even have the right pieces in place to go for it on the offensive side of the football? Like, that's why I just feel so hopeless because I feel like they're so stuck. Like they don't have a legitimate direction. They're not bad enough to stockpile talent. They're not good enough to win it all. They're too talented to be dog shit. They're not talented enough to win a championship. And so if you don't make drastic changes on one side or the other of that, it's just going to continue to look like this.
Yeah, that's the saddest part, Kevin. It's just like we're just stuck, man. We're just fucking stuck, man. But if I was to guess, I think you're right. I think Fields will be the starting quarterback. There's just that part of me is like, what are the chances you think Russ starts?
I think there's still probably a 30% chance they bring Russ back. But hearing that he and Arthur Smith were not like they didn't get along from from a coach to player standpoint very well. I would say that goes down a little bit. We know that in the locker room they wanted to keep Fields. Those reports came out that a lot of the team wanted to keep playing Fields over Russ. Tomlin overrides it, and initially he looks like a genius as the season comes to a close. Russ really didn't play great in the last 4 games. I thought 20 of 29 for 270 and 2 touchdowns against the Ravens was plenty fine, but they still got boat raced, and a lot of those yards were garbage time when the Ravens were already up 21-0. So it's hard to say whether or not Russ can actually come back and do it. He's going to be another year older. How much money do you really want to give Russ? You know what I mean? Because he could fall off a cliff in a heartbeat.
What if Russ is telling them, bring me back, I'll play for fucking $15 million?
I would bring him back for 15 to 20. A penny over 20 million, I think it is too much.
No.
I would rather just pay Justin Fields 2 years at 30 million, 40. I would give Fields 2 years at 40 million if you had to. Just because then you can follow through with that plan. If they suck next year, then you take your quarterback in 2026 and he's behind Fields for 1 year and then you move on. Like to go a long contract with Russ, I think is crazy because at any time, at that age of quarterback play, it can just drop off a cliff. And where Russ was great was using his legs, making plays out of structure, out of pocket. Russ doesn't really have the legs anymore. We've seen that a lot in the last month, that he just doesn't have the legs to escape the rush oftentimes where Fields would, and he doesn't have the ability to throw over the middle of the field. Like we saw that all season. I just don't know that you can win in today's NFL if you're not attacking the middle of defenses. And that, again, is a philosophical thing I think comes from Mike Tomlin, because Big Ben was tall and didn't throw over the middle of the field. And I just think that is where they try to limit risk, is by not throwing over the middle of the field. That has to change. That has to change. You're going to have turnovers in this league, Jerry. Look at this. The Steelers were second in the league in turnover differential and got blown out of the wild card, lost their last 5 games to end the season. So turnover differential doesn't mean everything either. It doesn't mean everything. We have to stop playing by these old archaic laws that you run first, play good defense, don't turn the ball over, win a championship. That's not the case anymore.
No. The case is you got to score fucking points, dude. You got to score points. You got to be able to win shootouts.
You have to.
You have to be able to win shootouts in today's NFL. You have to. And a big thing for next year is, and Kevin, honestly, I think this goes back close to maybe 5 to 6 years. They are always playing from behind.
Yep.
Always. More times than not, they're playing from behind. They haven't really had a couple games in a row in, seems like 5, 6, 7 years where multiple games they're like, up 13-0, 10-0. Like they're always playing from behind.
Yeah.
So, that has to change big time. That has to change.
How I just don't know how you can start slow every single fucking game. Like
Gotta be the game plan.
Like statistically, it says that that's nearly not possible. Like I mean, every single fucking week, you just cannot get it going early to start a game. It's absolutely game plan. It's absolutely game plan.
100%. When do you think? What do you think the first move they make is?
I think in the next 2 days they'll announce they're not retaining Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. I think he's the first scapegoat to go. If they do move on from Terrell Austin, which I would still be shocked if they do, but if they do move on from Terrell Austin, that'll be in the next 2 days. That's honestly, I think that will be about the extent of the major changes that Steelers make. I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Faulkner might go. Eddie Faulkner, the running backs coach that you had mentioned, he could go. A lot of these things are going to be contract related. Tomlin said it. He's like, there are guys naturally that will change because their contracts are up. So things will change naturally with the coaching staff, but they're not moving on from Arthur Smith. They're not moving on from Mike Tomlin. And even if they move on from Terrell Austin, they're not going to bring in somebody that challenges Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin has proven that he doesn't have guys like that. He does not have guys like that, Jerry. So if they're not going to push Mike Tomlin back, and it needs to start with Mr. Rooney at the top. He needs to just tell him, look, Mike, just motivate the guys. Let the offensive coordinator do the offensive coordinator's job. Let the defensive coordinator do the defensive coordinator's job. You just motivate the guys. We don't need you pushing the envelope in every room, every positional room, every offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. We don't need your fingerprints all over it. Okay? And this, I would just be blunt with it. This is your last year. Next year, we will trade you or fire you if we don't win a playoff
Yeah.
game or if it doesn't look like it's different. And if the results are the same, I would lay it out to him like that, Jerry, because they're a floundering franchise. They're a floundering franchise. The Steelers they're no longer who we think that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be. And when you see all these other teams winning playoff games, now the Steelers is only because the Commanders won a playoff game now. There's one less team behind the Steelers that haven't won a playoff game. We're getting into like laughing stock of the league type of situations with our inability to win in the playoffs. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's the saddest part, man. Saddest part is sad because you look at this team, and even going to the season, we're like, okay, we got some fucking playmakers, dude. We got some fucking playmakers. We thought the defense was loaded.
Yeah.
I thought the defense was loaded too. But guys didn't show up, man. Guys didn't show up when it really mattered the most. Whether they're out of position, a lot of it I think had to do with effort, though. A lot of missed tackles.
Yep, heart.
Yeah, dude, a lot of it. So maybe they went into these last couple games of the year just knowing they were going to lose.
Jerry, when you have all pros at safety in Mink, at pass rusher in TJ, defensive line in Cam Hayward, linebacker in Patrick Queen, those are all at every level of your defense. You have an all pro. Every single level of your defense, you have an all pro. And you finish with the 12th defense overall. Something is wrong. You're not using your talent the way it's supposed to be used. Like, there's no way your approach or your scheme is conducive for success when you have that much talent. I don't know that there's another defense in the league that has all pros at every level of the ball.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. You might be right.
So, I mean, what are the excuses? There are no excuses left. I'm tired of hearing them. Before we end the episode, let's look at all the guys that are unrestricted free agents. Just yes or no. I'll read you their name. Yes, you'd bring them back. No, you wouldn't. Dan Moore Jr.
No.
Dante Jackson.
No.
Van Jefferson.
No.
Russell Wilson.
No.
Najee.
Nope.
Landon Roberts.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with you on every single one of these so far. Jaylen Warren.
Yes.
Jaylen Warren is restricted, so he will play for the Steelers this year. I would try and sign him to a 3-year contract. If Najee Harris is willing to come back for a cheaper deal, I would also bring him back. I would bring him back. I realize Najee is not fast. I just still like his heart, his effort. I still like Najee Harris. I just prefer to see Jaylen Warren as the lead back, Najee Harris behind him. Justin Fields.
Yes.
Yes. DeMonte Casey.
No.
Michael Pruitt.
No.
Cam Sutton.
No.
Isaiah Loudermilk.
Nope.
James Pierre.
No. Yeah, probably.
I probably would too, just for a depth piece. He's not the absolute worst in the world.
Yeah.
Scotty Miller.
No.
James Daniels.
Nope.
Not at the number he would claim. Not at the number he would claim.
He's going to be too expensive.
Agreed. Backup center, Ryan McCollum.
Yeah, I would.
Agreed. He'll be dirt cheap. You now know you have your center. He didn't give up. Zach Frazier didn't give up a single sack all season. He's your guy. Ryan McCollum, I'd be fine with him being behind him. Jeremiah Moon, backup edge rusher.
No.
Ben Skoranek.
Yes.
Same. I like him. That guy grew on me a lot this year.
Special teams, he's great.
Great special teams player. He brings energy. He plays with heart. I'd bring him back. Swing tackle, Calvin Anderson.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, these are all guys that are nearly irrelevant, though, because you can find guys like these as undrafted players or in the 7th or 6th round.
It doesn't really matter.
Right. Max Sharping, backup guard. Irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
Kyle Allen, quarterback 3.
Yeah, then no. They already showed their hand with that.
Yeah, knowing who they just signed yesterday, you're pretty much done as far as that goes.
I didn't understand that either, though. By the way, I didn't. Maybe because they didn't want to waste a draft pick on a guy.
What, the Steelers signing?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
What the hell is his name? Quarterback.
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson. Yeah, the Steelers signed Skylar Thompson yesterday. As soon as the press conference ended for Tomlin, that was the number one thing that was announced. Steelers signed quarterback Skylar Thompson. And so that tells me that maybe they don't plan on bringing back Kyle Allen, but also they might not plan on bringing back one of Fields or Russ. I don't think they bring them both back. I don't think the likelihood they bring them both back is very high at all.
I don't think they do either. I don't think they bring them both back.
So, yeah, irrelevant. Kyle Allen, Zion Gilbert, cornerback, irrelevant. C.J. Henderson, irrelevant. Tyler Medikevich, special teams player. He's 33 years old, irrelevant. The only other one worth mentioning is Nate Herbig. Would you bring back Nate Herbig?
No, I don't. No, probably not.
I probably wouldn't either. I mean, he made $4 million this year. He got hurt, done for the year. I mean, I agree with you. All of those guys, I would be fine with moving on. So you're looking at, you would bring back possibly Najee, Jalen Warren, yes, Landon Roberts, Justin Fields. The rest of those, man, I mean, no, I have no reason to say or even make a case to bring them back. I think it's time. You just got to really change this fucking roster.
You do, man. You do.
Jerry Dunn, we going to record any episodes for the people in the off season here?
Yeah. We get a big time free agent or stuff starts to heat up, for sure. We'll definitely hop on an episode, here and there throughout the off season. Hopefully we get to do that more, depending on what the fuck they do. I'm sure, if they make a quarterback announcement, next couple days, we'll see. But we'll hop on a show, and talk about it. But other than that, man, just I would give this season, if I had to give it a grade, I would say probably a C, only because they won 10 games, and I don't think their offense was so bad. I'm looking back, I don't know how they did.
Jerry, it was an F season. It was an F season for me. It was an F season. I'm tired because
not with that offense. Not with that offense. They had nobody.
But they had nobody because they went into the season with nobody because they didn't.
Yeah, that's their fault.
Exactly. That's why it's a failure. That's why it's a F to me, because it looked like last year, looked like the year before, and when you're not getting better, I can't continue to say, yeah, it was our okay season. Yeah, 10 wins, I loved it. I loved it when we were 10-3, Jerry. We both thought, holy shit, this team has a chance. But when you lose the last 5 and it looks the same as it's looked every other season to exit, it's an F. It is a failure to me. Not winning playoff games to me is failure at this point. It's been 8 fucking years. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's time to stop making excuses and get the fucking job done. You have got to start moving the line on what our expectation is here. And for me, you don't win a playoff game, you lose your last 5s, it is an F. I agree with you. It was maybe they overachieved. I would say people think that the Steelers overachieved.
I think they overachieved. Looking back, I think they for what they had on offense and the quarterback position, I think Russ overachieved for sure. I think there was a lot of people when they bought him in town that thought his career was over with. Even if he doesn't play for the Steelers, I think he has a job next year.
Oh, he's starting quarterback somewhere. No doubt about it.
I think so too.
But
I think so too.
The only argument I'll say to they overachieved with that roster. Who builds the roster? Who builds the roster? You said
Tomlin.
it. Mike Tomlin has his hands in everything. Yeah. And I would argue, and this is I've heard from enough reporters now. I was talking to Kaboli. Even Kaboli is now openly tweeting it. He says that Mike Tomlin is essentially the GM. Like, okay, so, you have Omar Khan, and everyone's like, why isn't Omar Khan catching more shit for this? Mike Tomlin decides every aspect of that roster. Every aspect of every day-to-day for the Steelers. It is Mike Tomlin's football team. It is no longer
100%.
the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are now the Pittsburgh Tomlins. Like, that's where we are, okay? And so every bit of failure goes right back to him. I'm not skirting it anymore. I'm not scapegoating other guys. It's Mike Tomlin. So, yeah, I would say an F, Jerry. But circling back to other episodes, we do have an in with the agent that is for Zach Frazier and a couple of the other guys, actually. I want to say Keanu Benton. Yeah, Herbig. They all have the same agent. So there's a pretty high chance that we do some interviews in the offseason here with some guys. Just pay attention to the socials. We'll get those episodes out to you guys. We have appreciated it, especially the last couple episodes, Jerry. There are so many people saying it's the first time they've seen the show and they love it. We appreciate the shit out of you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. As soon as we get this show to the new viewers, as soon as we get this show over 10,000 YouTube views for just an episode where it's Jerry and I, we will give away $2,000 to you guys. So it has been a great year, Jerry. You and I at least have had a fucking blast. I enjoyed the shit out of at least making this show. I love this show. I love you guys that love this show. Continue to like, comment, subscribe, share it where you find it. We will see you again in 2025. We will still fucking be here because that's what we are, Jerry. We are We are delusional, diehard Steelers fans, and while we are down right now, we will try and find a way to be optimistic by the time they report to training camp in July. We appreciate the shit out of you guys. We'll see you here in a few weeks.
All right, see you guys.
Later, Jer.
We're here. We're still here.
We are still here.